If you have ever been to some large European airports or some US airports like Atlanta or Newark, you may have seen this, the Boeing 767-400. This airplane is particularly unique due to its distinct design and its rarity. So why did Boeing build this plane and why is it so rare? But before we begin, I want to clarify something. In this video, you'll hear me say Boeing 767-400 and 767-400ER. These two names refer to the exact same plane and there are no two variants of the 767-400. The terms 767-400 and 767-400ER mean the exact same thing and they're often used interchangeably. But anyways, Boeing's first 767-200 entered service in 1982 and the subsequent 300 variant entered service in 1988. These two variants, along with the slight variations of the 767-200ER and 300ER, were very successful, with over 900 being sold to airlines around the world. But this figure excludes sales for the 767 freighters and the KC-46 Pegasus, which are completely different. In the mid-1990s, Boeing introduced the Boeing 777, which is much larger and has more passenger capacity and range than the 767. After it was introduced, Boeing began studying smaller versions of the 777, although in late 1995 they announced that they will not be making a shorter 777 and will instead be working on a revised 767. The 767-400ER was officially launched in March 1997 with an order from Delta Airlines as a replacement for their Lockheed L-1011 TriStars. Later that year, Continental Airlines also ordered the aircraft to replace their McDonnell Douglas DC-10s. The first aircraft was unveiled on August 26, 1999, and made its first flight on October 9, 1999. The aircraft finally entered service with Continental Airlines on September 14, 2000. The final commercial aircraft was produced in 2002, with just one VIP aircraft being made in 2008. Okay, let's move on to numbers. Only 37 were ever built, going to Delta Airlines, Continental Airlines, which eventually went to United Airlines in 2010, and a VIP version for Bahrain Royal Flight. The 767-400ER has a typical 3-class seating capacity of 218 to 245 passengers. The aircraft has a range of 10,415 kilometers or 5,625 nautical miles. So if you start in New York, it can theoretically fly to places like Istanbul, Cairo, Vladivostok, and Santiago. The aircraft has a length of just over 61 meters or 201 feet. It has a wingspan of around 52 meters or 170 feet. The wingspan is the same as previous 767 variants, though with an increase of 4.8 meters or 15 feet thanks to the raked wingtips on the end of each wing, which we'll get into later. The 767-400ER is powered by two General Electric CF6 engines. The 767-400ER's basic design is the same as previous 767s, but it also has some features derived from the Boeing 777. It has a similar flight deck and interior as the 777, as well as new wheels, brakes, tires, and a new electrical system with a more powerful auxiliary power unit and new air conditioning packs. The plane is also a few meters longer and has a larger cargo hold. If you want to see all the changes made from previous 767 variants, then just look at this picture right here. Okay, now let's explain the aircraft's raked wingtips. Raked wingtips are these thingies at the end of the wings. They can be found on the Boeing 787, most 777 variants, the 747-8, Embraer E2 series, 767-400ER, and military aircraft like the Boeing P-8 Poseidon. They are mostly limited to Boeing and Embraer aircraft though, because Airbus decided to make whatever the hell this thing is. Raked wingtips were actually first introduced on the 767-400ER when it was unveiled in 1999. So why did it not sell well? The main reason was what was already out there. Airbus's A330, mainly the 200 variant, offered similar and even improved range, passenger capacity, and performance than the 767-400ER. By this time in the late 1990s, many potential customers of Boeing's upgraded 767 had the A330-200 in service or in order to replace their older aircraft or even to complement their existing fleet of A330s. Having two different types of aircraft, such as the A330-300 on higher density routes and the 767-400ER on less dense routes, wouldn't work for most airlines since they would have to deal with the higher cost of training pilots, cabin crew, and maintenance personnel on two aircraft types instead of one. Also, depending on the engine type used, airlines would also have to cope with the higher costs of maintaining two types of engines. Because of higher costs associated with having two aircraft types, including a less streamlined fleet, airlines probably chose the A330-200 over the 767-400ER. Despite its poor sales, the 767-400ER fits well into the operations of the two airlines that do currently fly it, Delta Airlines and United Airlines. They are a workhorse for both airlines, typically flying on long-haul routes to Europe and South America, like New York to Dublin, Atlanta to Madrid, New York to Frankfurt, Atlanta to Lima, New York to Milan, Washington to Amsterdam, Houston to Santiago, and New York to Munich. Both airlines also fly the aircraft on several longer flights within the United States, like Newark and Atlanta to Honolulu, Houston to Newark, and New York to Los Angeles. Unfortunately, due to the 767-400's age and the introduction of newer, more efficient aircraft, the future of this unique aircraft remains uncertain. This question was further raised after COVID-19 hit the aviation industry. Since both United and Delta have more efficient planes in their fleets at the time, the 767-400 were immediately placed into long-term storage for many months. However, in the summer of 2020, Delta returned several of the type to service, operating higher-density domestic flights, and just recently United started putting theirs back into limited service. But during the time the planes were grounded, both airlines, especially United, used more fuel-efficient aircraft like the Boeing 787 on many of the 767-400's previous routes, like Newark to Amsterdam, for example. Due to how this benefited United's operations, it is unlikely that they will return to flying the 767-400 on many of its past long-haul routes, and may instead only operate on a few select routes in the future. Still, it is possible that both Delta and United will eventually put all of their 767-400s back into service on their pre-pandemic flights. But since both airlines' 767-400ERs are between 19 and 21 years old as of the making of this video, and because both Delta and United already have potential replacement aircraft in their fleets, the Airbus A350 and the Boeing 787, the final days of the 767-400ER may be numbered. Thank you for watching this video. This is my first in-depth informational video, so let me know what you think of it in the comments. I decided to make a video on the 767-400 since it's a very special aircraft to me personally. I've flown on this plane many times in the past, and it's just a very interesting plane. I'm planning on making more of these types of videos in the future, so feel free to leave suggestions in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and once again, thank you for watching.